Hi there, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have awesome people here that are going to lead us into many different directions to do e-commerce businesses. And we have a fellow Canadian today. And so I want to thank you in the group for coming on board and listening intensely. Get your headset on like this man has. Get your piece of paper and your pencil and know that you're going to get a lot of your passport because we all meet in different places. And I met Jacob Topping when I was with Joy Packard and we were down in Texas. And I'm so grateful that Jacob was able to come online with us. And we also have Julie Fortin here, who is my business partner. Hello. And we will be jumping in and ad-libbing this as we go and having lots of information. So Jacob, can you give us a quick summary of your story on how you got started in the business?
Sure. So my name is Jacob Topping, and as Christeen mentioned, I'm in Canada as well. I live near Ottawa, so about an hour outside of Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada. And I've been selling online for quite a while. I checked my eBay account because, of course, you got to sell on eBay if you're selling online at some point. And the date there says 1999, and then I remembered that was my second eBay account because I had a different email address before that, but I lost that email address. So on my current email address, it goes back to 1999, which is essentially, it's 20 years now, right? Because it's 2019.
Yeah.
So I guess I've been selling online for 20 years. And with the recent selling that I've been doing, it's been mostly through Amazon. And so what happened there was I was working for doing contract work for the federal government. So I'm a software developer. So I do software development for the government. And between contracts, there's gaps. And if anybody else is listening and they're doing contract work, you know, you'll have a contract and then it'll end and another one will start. Sometimes there's a gap. So it could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It could be a day, whatever the gap is. And so I wanted to earn income during those gap periods. And so I started selling on Amazon.com. So I started with Amazon through Fulfillment by Amazon or Amazon FBA. Very different from print on demand, but if anybody's not familiar with Amazon FBA, essentially you're able to send products into an Amazon warehouse and then they do the fulfillment for you. And you can list those products on their website, so on Amazon.com. And you can actually do it worldwide. So Amazon has different marketplaces. There's Amazon.com in the US, and then of course there's .mx for Mexico, .ca is in Canada. And there's multiple marketplaces across the world for Amazon as a marketplace. So I believe last time I checked, I think there was 16 or 17 global Amazon marketplaces. Some of the newer ones, I know they've got Amazon China, Amazon India, Amazon Netherlands, Amazon in Brazil, Amazon Australia. So those are some of the newer ones. There may be ones that have come up since then.
Well, I know,
and if somebody's watching this as a replay, ones too.
Sorry to cut you off, Jacob. There's a delay when we're doing these things, right, on the voice. So
sure.
If I cut you off periodically, I'm sorry. Yes, I was doing Amazon on Fulfilled by Amazon as well, but I don't believe in putting everything in one basket, as well as I have Shopify and now this account as well. And Julie, you also had Amazon account. And so if people are finding one way better than another, I think that we have to learn all over on how we will use the e-commerce to best suit us as individuals, correct? Especially you're a family man and you have 3 kids. So were you married at that time when you started this?
When I started selling on Amazon, I was. So this was not too long ago. Amazon FBA, I believe I started around 2015. So before that, the selling that I had done before that was on eBay, and that was 1999. So yeah, that was before I met my wife and before I was married, before I had kids.
See, and you made that decision. You made that decision, right, to get going.
Yeah. Well, when I started on eBay, one of the things that I like to do is just find things that were out of stock or hard to find. So if I saw it in the news or if it was obvious that it was short supply, I would see if I could find them, and if I found them, then I would list them on eBay and just keep the difference. So I'll give you a good example. Gaming systems, quite often when they're launched, the physical products, the gaming system itself is often in short supply. So when the Nintendo Wii came out, it was kind of a big deal. Nintendo fans were going crazy. They're buying them up all over the place. And I think there was more demand than there was supply at the time of launch. but I was in a market that happened to have a bunch of extra ones. And so when I heard on the news that people weren't finding them, they were on short supply, I just went to the store and bought some. And then I listed them, and I listed them at whatever the price that people were listing them on eBay at the time, which happened to be obviously a lot higher than I could get it for retail. Mm-hmm. People were buying them out of market, right? So you ship them anywhere in the world.
Yeah. And that's actually how entrepreneurs start. They find that need, and you were very intelligent to go out there and do that and find products to that were in need, and you made your profit on that. And what transitioned you from eBay into Amazon?
So when I heard about Amazon FBA, that was significantly more convenient for you, right? Because with eBay, the way that I had been listing before is you'd have to actually buy the product or have the product already, and then you would list it. And with eBay, you can have the buy it now price, you can have the auction. So I was just doing buy it now because I knew that there's demand for it. And you would have to actually mail out each item to each buyer. So if you have 5 items that are for sale and 5 different buyers, you have to send out the mail 5 different times to 5 different people. And you don't know where they're going to be, right? So they could be in the same country, they could be ordering internationally. The costs are going to be all over the place. And you have to keep track of everything. So every time somebody buys something, you have to note, okay, it's sold. Now I'm going to go get a label and I'm going to mail it to them, right? So there's a lot of things to keep track of. With Amazon FBA, it was a lot easier because I could buy the things in advance. I could send them all in one box. So in one box, for example, I could put those same 5 items into one box and send it once to Amazon. And then once it's in their warehouse system, sometimes it'll be in one warehouse, but sometimes they'll break up the order and send it to multiple ones. But it's a lot more convenient as a seller if you can sell many things or send many things once to the Amazon warehouse. And then once it's there, they take care of all the fulfillment. So they take the order, they'll pick it off the shelf, they'll box it for you, they'll mail it to the person, they'll take care of all the logistics, right? Of course, it's integrated with their website, so you have access to that large marketplace. Amazon.com in the US, I believe, is the largest online retailer by far. Yes. And so you get access to that marketplace as well. And you could do the two separate, right? So you could do fulfillment by Amazon and be selling it somewhere else, or you could sell it on Amazon and do the fulfillment somewhere else. So you don't have to use Amazon as the marketplace when you're using Amazon FBA. And conversely, you don't have to use FBA to fulfill the order if you're selling on Amazon. You could do it either way or both. There's like 3 different ways just from that.
Yes.
So I was liking that. And I found that things were moving quite quickly. And so I started listing things for my house when I started with Amazon FBA. So I just had some products that weren't open that I didn't use. And I sent them in initially just to kind of test it out, get a feel for it. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I found that there was a huge, I don't want to call it a loophole, but I felt it was kind of like a loophole. So with books on Amazon FBA at that time, there was no storage fees for the first book of any book. And so I could go out and get 100 books, send them all into the Amazon FBA warehouse, and they could sit there at that time basically indefinitely without having any storage fees, right? And then when somebody bought them, they would do the fulfillment, and I would be charged for the fulfillment at that point, but I'd be covering it with the cost of the sale. So I started going crazy, and I was working. I was, like I said before, when I was on to Amazon FBA, it was between contracts. So when the next contract came on, I still had Amazon FBA running in the background. And so I would stop in at libraries on my way home from work and pick up books. Like they would have a library sale, and I would buy the books there. And then I would send them into Amazon. They would just kind of sit there until they sold. And the benefit was the first book of any listing for a book did not have storage fees.
Yes.
Books after the first book on that listing did, but that's since changed. Yeah. So when that changed, I started to do Amazon FBA a whole lot less because when I was doing FBA, a lot of my products were books. They weren't all books, though. Sometimes I'd go into other things like the dollar store for Dollarama in Canada. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example. There was one item there. I was in shopping with my friend, and I heard some guy just kind of shocked in the aisle. He's like, wow, that's a great price. I'm going to grab some of those. And, of course, your ears pick up as a reseller. And you think, oh, well, let's see what kind of great price. Is it a good price, right? So I went over and I scanned it, and it turns out that the item had huge demand on Amazon in Canada, but it wasn't listed on Amazon.com. So you can get products that aren't necessarily listed in different Amazon marketplaces. So if you're a reseller, you may want to check different international marketplaces sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to buy the item for $3 at Dollarama in Canada. So $3 Canadian was my buy cost plus tax.
Yeah.
And my sell price, I was selling it in the US for around $17 to $18 US. So, if you're buying it for $3 Canadian and selling it for, after the conversion, it's about $25 Canadian. It was a good little deal. So we actually promptly went to all of the Dollarama's in the Ottawa Valley, and we bought hundreds of this item. We would just walk into the store, we knew where it was in the aisle, we'd buy all of them, ask if they had any in the back, and then drive to the next location. I think there's around 20 or 22 locations in Ottawa.
Is this what they call arbitrage?
Yeah, so that's arbitrage.
Is that what they call arbitrage?
Yeah, so there's different types of arbitrage. And really, I mean, this call is primarily around print on demand, so we can get to that soon. But with selling on Amazon, you've got private label, which is where you've got your own product and you're bringing it to the market. And you might also be selling wholesale. So that's when you're contacting a manufacturer and bringing their wholesale products to retail through Amazon. And then there's retail arbitrage.
Yeah, retail arbitrage. And I will cut you off because we will be going on to your print on demand. But I just want to mention to Julie, because Julie's in Toronto area. I'm in the North Bay area. And so this is another great way to all of us always network and get along. And this is the same thing that I was mentioning to you a little while ago, Julie, about Jason Miles' kids. They do this, and that pays for their trips. And when they do things, that's what they have to do to get their own money to go on any trip. That's what I was mentioning to you. So, yes, it's an exciting time, and there's so much, and we could go on and on about all of your knowledge there, Jason. But I did want to get to know a little bit more about your book. And you were great with the information. We were running around Texas with our iPhones, taking pictures of bricks and making them into shirts. And I've got all kinds of shirts that I own that I made, and I gave at Christmas time. So that was all fun. But you actually have a big business thriving doing this kind of thing, right? And that's part of what you're doing in your book. Correct? Yeah.
So print on demand is completely separate from retail arbitrage or private label or wholesale on Amazon. It's a completely different type of business, but it's good to put it into context. So if you look at the way sellers have been using the internet to sell things, it's always changing. There's always lots of different ways. There's different platforms. There's different sites. There's different technologies. There's different ways in the sales pipeline that you can kind of insert yourself. So depending on how you want to make sales. And so a lot of people start with online sales just like having a product and then getting a buyer online and mailing it to them, right? So something like eBay. And you can do that with Amazon, right? You could say, I've got this product, I'm going to do an Amazon listing. Forget about FBA, I'm just going to list it as fulfilled by merchant. And then if somebody buys it on Amazon, you get the order and then you ship it to them, right? You ship it directly to the customer. So that's sort of something that's been around for a very long time online. And then fulfillment services solves a problem for sellers, right? As a seller, I don't want to be spending all of my time looking in my warehouse or looking in my set of products and then individually addressing them and shipping them to each person that's buying and keeping track of all the orders and things like that. It takes a lot of time, right? So fulfillment or fulfillment services meets that, sort of solves that problem. So Amazon or Fulfilled by Amazon is probably the largest that I'm aware of that does fulfillment, but it's not the only fulfillment game in town, right? So a lot of the shipping services now, like UPS and others, have fulfillment services that they're putting in place. Shopify, who happens to be a Canadian company, but is growing rapidly, they just rolled out a fulfillment network in the US that now covers 99% of the US with 2-day or less shipping. So in 2 days or less, you can have your products fulfilled anywhere in the US 99% of the time, or 99% of the US, I guess, is their coverage area. But they just rolled it out this year, and it's brand new, right? And they're expanding it. And I believe they're going to be getting into actually having their own warehouses in addition to their network of warehouses, right?
Yes.
So that business model has been around for a few years, and it's very popular. People send in millions, probably billions of dollars worth of products into warehouse networks. And they use fulfillment services, and then they sell on whatever marketplace they're selling on. It could be Amazon, it could be eBay, it could be Etsy, it could be a Shopify store that you run, like a personal store, and it could be there's lots of marketplaces, right? And so one of the problem with fulfilled by Amazon, I had a number of problems and things that are sort of pain points with that, right? Number one, you still have to mail the product into the warehouse, right? So I've got to ship a product from my house or wherever I'm buying them or wherever I get them from into the Amazon FBA network, right? So I've got to ship them, which means it takes time. So there's time between when I have the product and when they receive it and once it's available to buy online. Number two is I have to buy the product first. So I can't just ship a product in. I have to have the product to ship it in, right? And that product's going to cost money. It's a physical product, right? And so you have to actually physically mail it in, and you have to outlay that cash, right? And then there can be mistakes. So sometimes they would get a package and they would either list more than what you actually had or less. I mean, there's little errors and things like that you can keep track of. And then if it doesn't sell, it's sitting in a warehouse, right? So they're going to charge you warehousing fees or storage fees, right? And those, you know, they used to be annually and then semi-annually, and now I believe they're monthly. So with Amazon FBA, you've got a monthly charge, and a semi-annual, and an annual fee. There's 3 different types of fees on that storage. And I don't do that a lot right now. So I still have listings, but I don't follow it as closely as something that we're going to talk about. But as a seller, those are added costs, right? Added time, and time and costs are things you want to reduce. Mm-hmm. So if we compare the Amazon FBA to fulfilled, or not fulfilled by Amazon, but Merch by Amazon. Yeah. Merch by Amazon is a program that Amazon has, which allows you to sell your designs to them. Not really sell your designs, for them to use your designs and receive a royalty when people buy that item. And so this is sort of a high level how it works, but if you zoom in a little bit, basically what happens is they've got products for sale. So they started out with t-shirts, and then there's a regular t-shirt, there's a premium t-shirt, and then they've been expanding that slowly over time. So now there's hooded sweatshirts, there's zip-up hoodies, there's pop sockets for the back of your phone. There's different items that Merch by Amazon has now. And as a seller or somebody who wants to make money with this online, you create a Merch by Amazon account, and then you would upload into that service, once you're approved for it, a design, right? So it would be an image. And the image is set for the type of product that you have. So for most of the products, it's 4,500 across by 5,400 from top to bottom. So it's the rectangular image. Pop sockets have a different dimensions. Hoodies have a different dimensions. But I upload an image, which is software, right? It's a file. And that file goes in, assuming that it's approved. It gets listed on a listing on Amazon.com. And that listing will have your image overlaid or basically virtually on top of a product, so a t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever the product is that you're selling through Merch by Amazon. The benefits as a seller are to upload that image. I don't have to wait for the mail, right? I don't have to wait for the shipping to get from my house into an Amazon warehouse. It's digital, right? So I send it to them, it's uploaded, it takes a couple seconds to get there. And once it's there, if somebody buys it, then they'll print that design onto the shirt and mail it to the customer. Right, they take care of all that for you. Okay. And so, because they're...
Sorry, Jacob, to clarify one thing. So you are not producing or buying any merchandise up front, but Amazon has all of that. You are just uploading your designs with software. To them, and so you yourself are not making individual listings either for these designs, or these hoodies or t-shirts or anything?
Yeah, so when you upload the design, you're creating the listing. So you upload the design. In addition to the design itself, you provide them with a price, with a brand name, with a title for the product, with description and bullet points. You get 2 bullet points, you get a description box, and then you have a brand and a title. And there's some rules within the program around what you can use there. So for example, you can't use anything trademarked, right? So if I wanted to upload, I don't know, a picture of the Nike logo and say, hey, this is the Nike swoosh, get it on Amazon, it would be not approved, right? You'd probably lose your account for that. Yeah. Or you could lose your account for that.
I sold, and with your assistance, bricks from a wall that was down in Texas on a shirt for a bricklayer. So I sold him a few of them that he was giving to his guys that were all bricklayers. Then I sold, I think it was actually part of a plant, but it went down somebody's shirt. And it was on my iPhone that I had pictures when I was with you. And they sold. But they didn't sell a lot because I didn't keep up on it. But it was fun. And Amazon merch did approve me, although you had said at that time it could take a month or so to get approved, but I got approved right away. And I don't know if that's because I already had an Amazon account and I was coming in that way as well, but I got approved that night. I was just one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, so Merch by Amazon is not automatic or guaranteed approval. There's an application process to join Merch by Amazon. You can see it if you go on your web browser and you go to merch.amazon.com. You can apply for a Merch by Amazon account. And at the time that we met, this is just over a year ago in Texas, I was speaking at the Simple Amazon Seller event, which is put on by Joy Packard. It was a great event. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Merch by Amazon accounts were taking quite a bit of time to get approved, generally speaking. So sometimes it was a week, sometimes it was 2 weeks, sometimes it was 2 months, sometimes it was like 6 months, right? Some people were waiting months and months to get those accounts approved. They made some changes around that time or shortly thereafter where the account approval process is a little bit quicker. And they started denying accounts as well, which came to a surprise to a lot of people at the time. Mm-hmm. And so you would put in the application and you'll find out if you're approved or disapproved in quite a bit of a shorter time. I don't believe the wait time is no longer 6 months at the moment. Mm-hmm. That could change any time. So the program's been changing quite a bit. And the products that they've had available have changed as well. So as I mentioned originally, they just had a t-shirt was the one product, and then they had a premium t-shirt, and then they added additional types of shirts, right? Now they have pop sockets as well, which is not a shirt. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of different products that you can get on Merch by Amazon at the moment. But that's been slowly changing and slowly growing over time. And if you get back to the bricks and the plant that you had mentioned, so that's not through Merch by Amazon. That was through a different print-on-demand service. And there's lots of them. So
it was Ray.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Ray John.
I know.
No, that's okay.
I had so much fun with you. That's why we were going around with our phone. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's in your book. And that's all in your book.
It is.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned the book a few times. So there's a book that I wrote about this stuff, and I can get into sort of the story around how that happened. It's called Merch. It's called Merch and the World of Print on Demand. And it's not really a short book. It's kind of long. So there's a lot of information in it. You can tell there's a lot of, there's like a lot of writing in it, obviously. But I go through and I show people not just Merch by Amazon, but a number of different print-on-demand platforms. I haven't counted it recently, the total amount that I put into the book, but just in the index itself, which you can see the index if you go to Amazon, there's a listing for it.
Wonderful.
So these are all multiple different print-on-demand platforms that you can do this print-on-demand with. And Merch by Amazon is just another one of the print-on-demand platforms from my perspective. But they're all a little bit different. And I can talk to you guys a little bit about some of the differences. So with Merch by Amazon, you're uploading an image, you're building a listing. When somebody buys that, they take the image, they print it on the item that it is, so a t-shirt, for example, and then they mail it to the person, right? And then what they do is they pay you a royalty. So even though you created the listing on Amazon through Merch by Amazon, it's not created through Amazon Seller Central. So if somebody's selling on Amazon right now, that's a different path to listing on the Amazon Marketplace, so through Seller Central. And so, for example, Amazon FBA, you do that through Seller Central. If you used Amazon Custom, you do that through Seller Central. If you did an Amazon Fulfilled by Merchant, you do that through Seller Central. All of those are through Seller Central. Merch by Amazon is not through Seller Central. It's separate. It's through Merch by Amazon. And so the listing process is a lot simpler. It's very streamlined. You upload the image, you choose which products it's on, you pick the colors of the shirts or whatever the items are that you want. You do the title, the description, the bullet points, and the brand and the price. And then you choose how you want it to be sold. So it can either be sell through a private link, which is sort of a hidden link that you can send to people. This would be an example of this would be if you wanted to make a shirt and have it available through Amazon, but you didn't want it to show up publicly on Amazon. So it'd be a private link. Or you could have a public link, which means it's going to be listed right up in with everything else on Amazon.com. It shows up right on their marketplace. And with Merch by Amazon listings, the seller is Amazon. Amazon is the seller of record. So you're not the seller, they're the seller. So you don't receive sales revenue, you receive a royalty. So the type of income you're receiving is different. Who is selling it is different. There's sort of different ways that it gets onto Amazon, and then how you're paid is different as well, right? So you get paid through Merch by Amazon, which you can set up to be direct deposit. And then when you log into Merch by Amazon, you can use the same username and password that you do through Amazon Seller Central, or you can use a different one. It depends on what you want to do. So the two are really two separate programs. One is Amazon's Marketplace through Seller Central, and the other one is Merch by Amazon. And later in the call, I can get into why that's important.
Okay, so to recap for our viewers,
yeah,
it's separate from Seller Central. So
yep.
Is there a fee to be on Merch by Amazon? Is there a monthly fee for
that? So currently there's not. So it's free to join. There's no monthly costs. There's no real, in terms of costs, there's not really any costs. There's no storage fees, right? There's no cost to join. There's no monthly fee to be part of the program. There's no listing costs, right? So like Etsy, for example, you pay a listing for each listing that you have. That doesn't exist on Merch by Amazon. So there's no upfront costs, right? The only cost to you would be your time, right? So it takes time to upload those, and then creating the design and researching the design, that can take some time, right? Depending on what you've got available to you.
Absolutely. And do you have the creativity tips and something in your book, I would imagine, to help people starting out, to help them say, hey, am I going to just put a design of a horse on, or a brake like you were saying earlier, or
sure.
In the book, are you helping people out saying, hey, these tend to sell a little bit better than these, and this is why?
Absolutely, yeah. So the part that I showed you in the index, all of these things here, this is what a lot of people focus on, because it's one of the few books that actually lists out tons of print-on-demand platforms. Okay. And it goes into detail about each one of them, right? So it goes into detail about Merch by Amazon. What is Merch by Amazon? How does it work? How much do things cost? What can you sell them for? What are pricing strategies? What are the rules? Like what can you upload? What can't you upload? All that kind of thing. But that's just one platform. That's just Merch by Amazon, right? So I think there's like somewhere around 20 pages of content just for that. But there's more than 40 print-on-demand platforms. All of that, though, is only one chapter in the book. So that chapter is the online platforms. And it has like more than 40 platforms, that each one of them that I go into details for. But the other chapters, there's 11 chapters in the book altogether, they tell you other things. So for example, the beginning part, the introduction, it clearly outlines exactly what is print on demand, how does it work, what happens from a client standpoint or the buyer's standpoint, what happens from the seller's standpoint, and what happens sort of behind the scenes, right? Like how does this all work? So there's an introduction, there's an overview, and then there's a getting started, chapter 3, and it goes through everything that you need to know in terms of creating the designs, right? So are you going to create the designs yourself? Are you going to pay for somebody to create the designs? Are you going to buy existing designs? If you're doing it yourself, are you going to use software? It goes through multiple apps that you can use to make the designs, right? So if you're making them yourself, are you going to do it on your desktop? Well, you might want to use something like Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop. If you don't want to pay a monthly fee for that, you might want to get something like Inkscape or a program that doesn't have any cost. Or if you don't mind paying, but you don't want to do a monthly fee, you can do something like Affinity Designer, which is like Adobe Illustrator, except you only pay for it once, and then you have access to it forever. And it's cutting edge software. It's like Illustrator is very up to date. So that's on desktop. And there's other desktop programs. So I go into like Corel Draw, and I go into some sign making programs that you can use for making designs just for desktop. And then there's a whole section on like mobile apps, right? So if you want to make designs on your mobile phone, right? If you've got like a mobile phone, you want to make designs. I list out multiple apps that you can use to make designs on your mobile device. So whether it's iOS on Apple or whether it's on Android, I have apps for both Marketplace. And depending on what size of mobile thing, right? Maybe you're doing it on your phone, but maybe you want to do it on a tablet. Totally different, right? There's other apps that are there for tablets. So I go through tablet apps for iOS and Android in the book. Or let's say you don't have a mobile device and you don't want to do it on your desktop. You want to do it just on the web, wherever the web may be for you. Okay. I've got programs listed in the book that you can use to make designs through your web browser, right? So whether you're using Chrome or Safari or Firefox, whatever your browser is, you can actually make designs through the web, through those multiple websites. And I list out multiple ones that you can use to make your own designs, right? So the book is very detailed, right? I'm a very analytical person, and I go through all kinds of different ways that somebody could create the designs, right? And then I go into places where you could list the designs and why you'd want to list certain designs in one place and certain designs in another place, right? And your question is a very open question. So I also go through things like niches, or how to identify types of designs that people might want to buy. Because, I mean, I could make a design and I could take a picture of this ruler and stick it on a shirt, right? And maybe somebody will buy it, but maybe they won't. I don't know, right? But there's software out there where you can actually look up. You could type in, like, what is it that somebody's looking for? The keyword ruler, right? So you might say, okay, well, this is a ruler, but somebody else might call it a measuring stick, or somebody might call it a straight edge, right? Or somebody might be real specific. It's a metal ruler with a cork background, right? Yes. So maybe they're searching for a cork ruler. Maybe that's their search term. What they want is a ruler, because for whatever reason in their mind, this is called a cork ruler, right? Okay. And so there's software out there that allows you to see what the demand is for multiple search terms. And some of that software is specific to each platform, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. So for example, there's a program called Merchant Former, which is very popular. And the reason it's so popular for its space is that it's showing you the demand and what kind of sales velocity certain designs have on Merch by Amazon. Now remember, Merch by Amazon listings are on Amazon.com. So they're intermingled with all the other listings, right? Like if somebody wants to have a shirt in their basement and sell it on Amazon, they can make a listing for it and sell it from their house. Yeah. But then a Merch by Amazon listing is a virtual listing. There is no shirt, right? The listing is there. And then when somebody buys the item, then they print the shirt. So this is an example of a Merch by Amazon shirt. So you can see them. Like, they look like any other shirt.
So it's a just-in-time product, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
And fun.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So that's an official Merch by Amazon. It's their design on one of their shirts. So if you check it out, it's got the whale is kind of, the orca is kind of their thing, but the little Merch by Amazon guy is there.
I see it.
So I got this at a conference in Seattle, which was really fantastic, where we actually talked with people. Can't really get into details about what we talked about, but there were people from Amazon at the conference that you could, talk to them about the program. Sorry, my camera went out of focus there. So they heard that we were talking about them. They took out the focus on the camera. So just kidding. You never know.
This sounds absolutely fantastic. So jam-packed with information. And it's so great. It's so for newbies who have no idea where to start, do not know where to go.
Yeah.
And frankly, in a lot of countries, they may not have a lot of disposable income to get started online. Yeah. Sounds like a really great opportunity for them.
So that's up to chapter 3, right? So chapter 3, chapter 3 goes into more details, not just about how to make designs, but also apps and software that you can use to make your own designs. Also about how to verify or check designs. So for example, if you want to, let's say I wanted to go and pay a virtual assistant to make designs for me, or let's say an artist, right? And they send me a design. How do I know that that design is an original design, right? So the book shows you how to reverse image search images by image. So you can literally upload a picture that you got from your designer and check to make sure that it's original. Yeah. Right? You can search the web. And so a lot of people know about Google Images. You can do a reverse image search. But the book goes into multiple ways that you can do that, right? So you can do that through Google Images, but you can also do it through other services. And it goes through which the other services are, how they work, why they're different, where you can get them, whether they're paid or free services, right? There's kind of both spectrums, right? Because some people will want to do everything for free, so there's no out-of-pocket expenses. Other people would rather put money into a paid tool, and I cover both of them, right? So whether you want to do it all free and do it yourself, or whether you want to do it paid, or anywhere in between, right? So even with custom designs, if you don't want to do it yourself, like me, I'm not a designer. I don't make great designs personally. I have the tools available. I know how to do them. Once it's made, I can say, oh, I like that, or I don't like that. But I'm not really the best designer personally, right? So I like to pay other people to make my designs. Mm-hmm. But somebody might say, well, I don't even know what to ask them. I'm not sure what designs I want to make, and I don't want to put in the time to research niches. I would just give me some designs, right? So there's services in the book that are ready-made designs, right? So the designs are already made, and some of them are just the design, but some of them also include like trademark research to make sure that the terms that you would apply to that design are not taken or they're not trademarked, right? Because if you upload to merch by Amazon that's trademarked, it's going to get denied and won't be allowed on the platform. And there's everything in between, right? There's all kinds. You could just get the designs, or you could just get niches, right? Like say you want to make the designs, but you don't want to do the research. You can buy the research if you want, right? But the book actually shows you how to make your own niche lists. So that's something that people mentioned to me when I was writing it. They said, okay, well, that's great. I can make my own designs, or I have a designer, and I can do the research. I don't mind doing that, but I want to know like what niches should I do, right? Which is maybe a big question. And I don't want to use software. I want to see what other people are saying. I want to make up my own niche lists, right? So the book goes into details around how to make a list of things that would be a list of niches that you could target, right? And then within each niche, you might have like 1,000 shirts for each niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if somebody's not familiar with niches, a niche would be like a group of people that like are into something. So for example,
rocks. Mine was rocks and bricks and stone.
There you go.
And then
so rocks and bricks and stones, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing where you go to any beach all over the world, which is why I love this business, is that you can go to all the blue waters of the world and take a picture of nature somehow, and it becomes all over the shirt. And all the bedspreads. I did a lot of bedspreads actually, and did okay on that. And I found that your book was really easy to comprehend. It was easy, as if you were talking, maybe not to your kid. I don't want to say that you were down talking to anybody, but enough that this blonde could understand it. I don't mean to say it quite like that, but you know what I mean. Itself.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes I am one that sees all the pretty baubles, right? And so I want to absorb as much as I can at that moment. And if it keeps me engaged, then I'm going to go with it further. And so I hope, will you be writing another book shortly on another topic, or?
I've had requests for 3D printing. So I've got access to other ways to create things locally. So I can do 3D printing. I can do custom laser designs on multiple materials.
Yeah.
I've got access to vinyl heat press. I've actually got, oh, my camera's kind of mobile here. If you look over here, right,
the office.
You can see all my junk in my office, right? So right there, that's the end of a printing press. So I actually have a printing press as well. Yeah. But I've got access to like 3D printers, laser engravers, vinyl heat press, vinyl cutters. I've got my own printing press in my house. So I've got access to all these different things. So I do have a bunch of requests coming at me for me to write a different book about 3D printing and about all that stuff you can do with that. And 3D printing is kind of related to print on demand, because you take a digital file, you can sell that file itself, but you can also sell the product that goes with it, right? And you can have a listing on a website like Amazon, for example, and then instead of fulfilling it through a fulfillment, let's say t-shirt printer, you could do it through a 3D printer. Right, and there's ways to connect those listings to Amazon as well, and to other marketplaces like Etsy or eBay or other places where people buy things, Walmart. But to get back to print on demand, the book itself, this book is the 6th edition. So I originally came out with the book, and then I rewrote the book the second time, so it was the 2nd edition, and then the 3rd edition, the 4th edition, the 5th edition, the 6th edition. So this is currently the 6th edition. It's the most current version. You can get it in print on Amazon.com or on any of the Amazon marketplaces. If you're in Brazil, you might want to go to Amazon.br. You can get it in Brazil. And so that's the printed book. And then there's the digital book, which has exactly the same content. It's also in the 6th version right now, and it's available on Gumroad. So I think you have a link to that if you want.
Yes.
So you can look around on the site where you're seeing this video. There should be a link to it. And the reason I mentioned the Gumroad version is because in addition to the book, it also includes digital files, right? So when you buy the digital version, you get the book itself, but you also get bonus files. And so those have things like there's a niche list of important dates. So dates that each one of those dates could basically be a whole series of shirts or of items that you can use on print on demand. And I've got thousands of dates, right? So every day of the year has multiple events happening on it, right? So everything from like Christmas and Easter and the big sort of events and holidays, so like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, 4th of July. We've got multiple independence type days for multiple countries as well. Like in Canada, we have Canada Day. In the US, they might have Independence Day. But in other countries, they also have independence events and other special days, right? So just on the sort of calendar date, what is the special date? What is it called? When is it? You can make a shirt. You can make lots of shirts on each one of those. And so the digital files that come with the book on Gumroad, there's several thousand dates, just as an example, so people can get started making shirts right away, right? There's another file within those digital files that gives you professions, right? So people, when they talk about niches, they might say, okay, wait, let's make shirts just for like nurses or for doctors, or I want to make, shirts for accountants, right? Because they might want to buy a gift for the office or something like that, or maybe an engineer.
The accountant wants that ruler.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if somebody's like a tailor, right? Maybe they want like a ruler like this, or maybe they would want one of those cloth rulers, or there's all kinds of different things. So you can make shirts for all kinds of groups of people. People will buy shirts for all kinds of things, right? Maybe if you fly an airplane and you're a pilot, I know pilots like to buy their own pilot things, but maybe it's a flight attendant, right? Maybe they have their own sort of subgroup of things that they're into, and you can put designs targeted to them on things that you can do with print on demand. And so that other bonus file has professions, and it's got over 1,000 professions. I'm happy to say that Tara, who's my wife, she helped me with that, and she's in that industry. So she has special access to information about professions. So she helped me generate that file as well, right? And it's got thousands of professions. So each one of those, you can make multiple shirts from each item, and the file that comes with the book has like over 1,000 professions, right?
Show your book again, Jacob, because
sure,
you can go on and on forever, and because you have so much information, and we will put that link on there as well. But I would like to maybe have you come back another day, and maybe even with your wife, because what I find is that sometimes you get really excited, but when I first started in this business, I was very scattered, and I wasn't getting the information that I needed because I went into things that were too hard for the level that I was at.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different complexities, and you can make it very simple. Like, very simply, you make a design, upload it into the platform, and that's it, right? But then you're going to ask yourself, well, like, what design should I make? Okay, well, now I know what I want to make. How do I make it, right? Yeah. Well, now I know how to make it. Is it trademarked? Well, how do I know that, right? Yeah. So the book really goes through like step by step exactly that kind of thing. And again, we're only up to chapter 3 as far as describing what's in the book. There's 11 chapters, right? So it goes through things from the very, very beginning, like what is print on demand? Like it's print on demand. It means you're manufacturing things on demand. You call it just in time, right? But even just in time, you would have a warehouse of things and you would basically deliver it through a warehouse. With print on demand, the item doesn't exist, right? You can sell things that at the moment that you're buying them, they don't exist. And as soon as you click the button, it's basically manufactured at that moment and then sent to whoever bought it. So that's the beauty of it, right? Mm-hmm. And going back earlier into the conversation, we were talking about the differences between Amazon FBA and Merch by Amazon, just as one of the print-on-demand platforms. Once I've got a listing up there, when somebody buys it, okay, so they make the shirt and they send it out to the person, right? But the listing's still there. And it's still available. A second person can buy it. Okay, great. So they make a second shirt. They send it that person. But what if like 1,000 people buy the shirt? Well, then you don't have to send anything else in. It's just the same design. It's the same listing. Everything's identical. They make 1,000 shirts, right? And you don't have to make a different listing for every size and different colors and stuff, right? Maybe one person wants this design on a blue shirt. Somebody else wants it on a white shirt. Somebody else wants it on a red shirt. Mm-hmm. They're all available. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you click the button, they go to the warehouse and they grab themselves the blue shirt and the red shirt and the white shirt, and they print that design on each of those shirts. And not just the colors, but different sizes, right? So, everything like small, medium, large, extra large, 2 times extra large, 3 times extra large, it's all available on Merch by Amazon, right? And so one person might get like a black shirt that's small, and another person might get an orange shirt that's extra large, right? And they're 2 different people.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I like about on-demand or print-on-demand is, number one, there's no inventory. Like, I'm not shipping it into the warehouse. I'm not doing any shipping at all, right? I don't even have to ship it into Amazon. I upload it on my computer, right? Then there's no waiting time. I don't have to wait for it to get there. And then once it's there, it never runs out, right? So it's like continuously available. It just keeps being available. Now, I would say on Merch by Amazon, it has to sell within the current time period is 1 year, and that's changed over time. So it has to be, you have to sell at least once within a year. If it doesn't have any sales for a year, they take it off.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and it may have been on Rage and not on Amazon. After it's on there for a while, they also want to know whether you want to go on sale. So like it's a Christmas sale. Was that Rage or was that?
Yeah, so all the different print-on-demand platforms, so far in this conversation that we're having, I haven't gotten into any of the other platforms for print-on-demand.
We can talk to you forever.
There's lots of them. So
much information. But,
yeah, so there's Rage On. Yeah, so Rage On is a different print-on-demand platform. It works differently. For example, it's instantaneous approval, right? If you want a Rage On account, you go to rageon.com and you set up the account and you're approved immediately. Everybody's approved and it's instant. There's no waiting time period, right? Then if you want to create something, you don't have to just upload the very specific file format that Merch by Amazon wants. Again, for most of their shirts, they want 4,500 across by 5,400 from top to bottom as a pixel size, right, of the image that you're sending them. With Rage On, they have a mobile app, and you can load it onto your phone. You can just open up the app and start taking pictures of stuff. And as soon as you take the picture, the listing's created. It has the image is available on items, and it's not just T-shirts. It's not just pop sockets. If you take one image through the app with Rage On, it's instantaneously created across something like 50 items, right?
Oh, I know.
So it's on socks, shower curtains, bedspreads, yoga mats, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, pants, swimming wear, right? Like bathing suits, bikinis, everything. Like
it's so much fun.
And it's instant.
Yeah,
right?
And it's exciting. So, keeps your energy up to go forward. You've got a lot of energy coming out your way. And Jacob, I'm really sorry because you have a ton of information. It's just that I do feel that you should come back another day and chat some more from, the rest of them. And I won't say a word so that you can get it all out. And I want to ask
if we want to do 1 hour at a time, it's going to take a while, but I want people to get a sense of how crazy this is. So I'm going to try to step back from the specifics, like you can do this on one platform. It's just look big picture, okay? As a seller of things that wants to make money using online, which is the internet, right? You have access to, there's literally hundreds of print-on-demand platforms. I've gone out and looked at over 100 of them and condensed around 40, 45 or so in the book. And I go through in detail each one of them. But each one of those platforms has different products, right? So Amazon, through Merch by Amazon, has its items, right? And they're slowly kind of getting into more items, right? When I first wrote the book, I only had 2 items. There was a shirt and a premium T-shirt, right? Now they've got, I don't know the exact number, I'd have to check because it's been growing recently. But they've got like Wrangly-ons, you've got zip-up hoodies and pullover hoodies and a shirt, a premium shirt, they've got a pop socket. So there's a handful of items. I think it's less than 15 for sure. And they recently, even 1 month ago, you had to do them one at a time and they had a beta for a multiple uploader, but now you can upload multiple designs on Merch by Amazon. So Merch by Amazon itself is very big. It's a program of Amazon, which is obviously very big, and it gives you listings on Amazon. Now, Merch by Amazon also has listings on the Amazon Marketplace in the United Kingdom and also in Germany. Okay, so if you're in the program at this point, I believe at some point you get access to those locations as well in the Amazon Marketplace. But, for example, if you want to sell a shirt to somebody in Canada, I'm in Canada, Christeen's in Canada. Julia, you're in Toronto area, right? In Canada. None of us can order a shirt from Merch by Amazon and get it delivered to our house directly at the moment. Doesn't mean you can't get the shirts. Just means you can't directly order them from Amazon because Amazon.ca does not have any Merch by Amazon listings just at the moment, right? Okay. So when I was writing the book, I was getting frustrated by some little things. And at the time that I was originally writing the first one, I was actually locked on Merch by Amazon. I didn't have access to upload or edit any of my designs. I was frustrated. So I started looking out across the board and I saw there was other companies, right? So I made a list of some of them. I showed you guys this before the call, but this is just some of the top print-on-demand platforms, and I'll read them for you. There's Merch by Amazon, which is what we've been talking about this whole call.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about Amazon. So you can actually do print-on-demand through Amazon Seller Central, and I show people how to do that in the book. That allows you to do like an unlimited number of listings and also list things that are not available on Merch by Amazon. So you can actually sell on Amazon apart from Merch by Amazon or with Merch by Amazon, either way. There's Redbubble. This is like, as far as I know, the largest single like pure play for just print-on-demand items. They sell like more than $250 million a year in sales just for print-on-demand items. Cafe Press is kind of an older one, right? So Cafe Press is more than 20 years old. It was recently sold to another company, but it still operates independently, so you still go to Cafe Press. There's Shopify, which we touched on just briefly. Shopify is an e-commerce platform that allows you to have your own website. If you want to have a website, you can actually run Shopify without a website, but it allows you to connect your products to marketplaces. So you can connect, first of all, you could connect a print-on-demand fulfillment service to your Shopify store, and then when somebody buys something, it's like you'd be your own Merch by Amazon, right?
Mhm.
So you would have your own store. If somebody clicks on something and buys it, then it connects that order to a fulfillment print-on-demand platform service. They would make the item and send it to the person.
Yes.
But if you want to take it a step further, let's say you don't have any traffic, you don't feel like having your own website, you can connect your Shopify store to marketplaces. So you can connect Shopify to Amazon. Now you can have a listing on Amazon through Seller Central, right? It's listed on Amazon.com, as well as Amazon.ca, Amazon in Mexico, places where Merch by Amazon doesn't exist at the moment. And then when they buy it, let's say on Amazon.ca, so in Amazon Canada, that order goes to Shopify as fulfilled by merchant, right? That's how it gets there. And then Shopify says, oh, great, there's an order. Wonderful. What is this thing? And it's connected to Printora, right? And so your Shopify sends the order automatically to Printora, and they make the shirt and send it to the buyer who bought it on Amazon.ca.
Yes.
And
right? So you see how that fits together.
But how long would that take before the customer would actually get their product then?
Well, so the order itself goes from Amazon to Shopify to, let's say, Printora. That takes about 10 seconds, right?
But
so the time between when Printora makes the shirt and when the customer gets it depends on the fulfillment service. And so there's lots of them, right? There's like Printora's custom fulfillment, Custom Cat, T-Launch, Scalable Press, Printful, Printify. There's all kinds of different print-on-demand services that are just on the fulfillment side. And they all have different guaranteed time periods. So for example, Printful, I believe their guaranteed order time is 7 days, which is kind of long. But that's guaranteed. Most of their orders go out in 2 to 3 days.
Oh, 2 to 3 days. Okay, well, that's okay, because I was finding some shipments for drop shipping from China were taking like 16, 28 days, and that becomes a problem.
Right, yeah. Drop shipping and print on demand are similar, but they're different. I can talk about that in a second. But with print on demand, I mean, literally they get the order and then they print it. The actual making of the shirt takes less than 5 minutes.
Yes.
Right. So the time period from when they get the order to when they print the shirt depends on how many shirts are kind of in the printers. Mm-hmm. And then from once it's pre-made until when they send it out, that depends on the fulfillment service. So for example, Printify, which is based in Canada, most of their orders go out within 1 to 2 days. So, and you can get 1 day delivery, right? So you could literally order something today, right, and have it go through your Shopify store, but you can have it listed on Amazon. So let me paint a picture for you. If somebody goes on to Amazon, right? They buy your listing. They choose 1 day shipping. The order goes to Shopify. Shopify connects to Printify, which is in Canada. And then let's say the person's, let's say Julie ordered the shirt. They print it same day. She chooses 1 day delivery. And tomorrow on your door at like 10:30 in the morning, you get this brand new shirt that didn't exist yesterday.
Yes. That's fabulous.
It can be fast.
Before I say goodbye to you, Jacob, let me ask you one more question. Do you do live events to walk people through to, you know, maybe set up their own accounts? Do you do like a small circle of, I don't know, under 20 people maybe that could go to some event that you host?
I haven't done that yet. when we met in Texas, I mean, I was speaking just as one of the speakers on the stage and kind of trying to give an idea of some of the more advanced things that are happening. Because even now in this call, we haven't gotten into like, there's artificial intelligence you can build in to do your marketing for you. In the book, I talk about 1 hour delivery. So you can get a print on demand shirt shipped in an hour. Wow. It's like Amazon now, right?
Yeah.
So within an hour.
But more
in the book, I talk about all kinds of stuff. So, but to answer your question, no, I haven't done a live training. Sometimes when I go to events, because I've spoken at a lot of events, right? So I spoke at the Simples on Seller training. I spoke at an event to a few hundred people in Florida that was like 3 days later in the same week. I've spoken at the ACE conference, which is over in New Jersey. So in front of hundreds of sellers there, I showed them some of the things. And at that time, I was really excited about this Rage On app, because you can just take a picture of something. It doesn't have to be a detailed drawing that you paid an artist, $50 to draw or something. Yeah. You can take pictures and put them on items, and the item doesn't have to be a shirt, right? The item could be a framed print, right? It could be like a metal print, right? It could be a metal thing that you put on here. They have reusable wallpaper that's made out of vinyl that you can do on demand, right? There are all kinds of different products that people can put their designs on and have them done on demand. Like skateboards, I was doing a live video call on YouTube with a friend of mine, and during the call, we actually made some skateboards and we put them up on Zazzle, and it was like a screenshot from the call that we were on. And we had the listing up and live for sale. You could buy the skateboard during the call.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't have to take a long time. But
you have all this passion about this, and it's all in your book. And we will.
It is all in the book.
Book. We will have your link to your book underneath. And
sure.
I not that I don't want to talk to you forever. I just find that I think that people that are driving in their car may have gotten to their destination, and we should probably at this point just say, come on back and tell us more. And Julie and I will, in the future, we'll be doing some events. And we're hoping that you will come on and give people can have a little classroom with you as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want it, let me put it to you this way. If you can set up a workshop, right, and you get 25 to 50 people or whatever number of people you want in a workshop, I can come and do live training. It'd be my pleasure. You can put it up on a board. We can show people everything from how to create an account, and they can do it while we're sitting there. How to make designs, and again, we can do that right at their desk, where you don't even need a desk. I mean, they can do it on their phones if they want. We can show them how to make designs on the web, right? So you can do that on your phone or on a desktop or a tablet if you want. How to load those designs onto not just one, but multiple print-on-demand services, like in real time, which only takes a few seconds. And then how to market them. And we can actually market designs that they made during the class at that time. So yeah, if you can get together some people and you want me to train them on how to do anything related to print on demand, I would be happy to come and to do that. And we would just have to maybe talk about when and how logistically we would do that. But
well, that's fabulous. I think that would be really awesome, and a lot of people would look forward to that. I know I would, I only did on Rage On, but and I did read your book, but sometimes that little bauble comes in front of me and I get distracted. So I'm so glad that you came back on and talked to us today.
Yeah.
And
can I mention the chapters in the book, since we only went up to 3 chapters? There's 11 chapters, right? I'll just mention the chapter names. Okay. So chapter 4 is all the different print-on-demand platforms, right? So it goes through multiple ones. We kind of hinted at like 5 of them.
Yeah.
But I actually list out what the traffic is to the website. So like how many monthly visitors does the traffic get and how does that change over time? I list out the products that are there. I list out how to connect to them, how to optimize existing listings. And sometimes people for example, if somebody has a Redbubble account and they have designs and they upload it, it's not available to children unless you actually go in and change the settings. You have to change the settings in order to make it available on like the most popular category products, right?
Yes.
So it goes into details on how to optimize stuff. So without getting into details, just the chapter. Chapter 4 is print on demand platforms, right? Chapter 5 is marketing. So I go through like 10 different reasons why people buy things. I go through multiple marketing platforms. So I go through social media, for example. I go through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. There's other platforms I cover in the book. Just in chapter 5, I talk about integrations. So how to connect different marketplaces to different fulfillment services. We talked about that a little bit with that example with Shopify. But even without Shopify, you can connect, let's say, GearBubble to Amazon or GearBubble to, I don't know, like to eBay, right? eBay's got millions of visitors per month, and you can sell on-demand products on eBay, which is kind of neat. I talk about how to connect print-on-demand products to Walmart. So if you want to sell on Walmart.com or Walmart.ca or like multiple Walmart geographies.
Have you things in these places?
So myself, I'm on 23 different platforms right now. So I use 23 out of all of the ones that there are. But in the book itself, I actually outline which ones have the most traffic. So there are literally hundreds and hundreds of print-on-demand platforms. I've gone through sort of the top 100, 150 when I was writing the book, and I actually evaluated like what's on them. And I only included the ones that really have traffic, right? Because if it's a marketplace, of course you're going to include Amazon. It's got a lot of traffic, right? Of course you're going to include eBay. It has a lot of traffic. Of course you're going to include Etsy. It's a giant site. People shop there, right? But those are marketplaces. Those aren't print-on-demand companies, right? So you can connect a print-on-demand fulfillment service to an existing marketplace, right? Like Walmart, Amazon, eBay, Etsy. These are some of the bigger ones. Yeah. But you can connect them to other ones as well, right? So I show people how to connect them and exactly the steps that you would do. So for example, Walmart's a little bit complex. You have to have certain business registration numbers. You have to be over a certain selling volume in order to get the account with them. And then once you're there,
and that's
it's all in my book. Yeah.
And we'll have an event, and you can have these people, and you can tell them all about it. And we should probably let you get on with. It's almost dinner time. Are you cooking for your kids tonight, or what?
I haven't talked with her about it yet. I know we made potatoes earlier, but I don't know if we're having them for supper. Yeah. Can I just mention the title of the chapters?
Yes.
Chapter 6 is community resources. Okay. I'll let you imagine what that is, but it goes through like lots of different resources there. Outsourcing, so how to automate your business. You can automate up to 100% of the business. Literally, once you have it set up and running, it can run itself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to make designs. You don't have to upload. You don't have to make the listings. You don't have to do any of the searches. You don't have to come up with the niches. 100% of the business can be automated, which is appealing for people that want to just outsource the whole thing. There's frequently asked questions, which are very, it's very broad. So it goes from really basic questions to very complex questions. And there's some really complex questions that come up in print on demand eventually. There's an extras, so going beyond the other chapters, so things that don't fit in the other chapters, there's a whole chapter for that. There's a glossary, so it goes into the terms, right? So for example, DTG. Well, I know what DTG means, but a lot of sellers wouldn't know what it means. Like, just a quick survey with the two of you. Do you guys know DTG?
No.
Christine?
Christine?
No? Okay, well, it's in the glossary. It's direct to garment, right? So direct to garment is the process of printing a design directly onto the garment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it makes sense when you see it, right? But I go into things like, what is a sublimation? What's an all-over print? What's DTG? What is an ASIN, right? So if somebody wants to list print on demand on Amazon.com through Seller Central, you need to know what an ASIN is, right? An Amazon selling identification number. I go into things in the book, in the glossary. There's lots of other things. I go into the future of print on demand. So at the time that the book was last published, at that moment, there weren't any services for multiple uploading, which there are now. And so I've got to make another issue of the book probably. I don't want to get confusing or anything, but you can now upload one design. You don't have to upload a design. You can take the designs from one platform, download them into software, and then push them out to multiple platforms simultaneously, right? So you can multi-list all of your designs simultaneously to multiple platforms, each of which have multiple items. So you can essentially turn like one design into hundreds of designs, thousands of designs across multiple
products,
hundreds of products.
Yes.
And you can automate that, which is kind of powerful, right? You can connect it to software that does that for you, like while you're sleeping, right?
Now that's amazing. Now you're saying that is in this updated version?
There is. So there's a couple pages about how it is and some services that are there. Unfortunately, one of the services that's in the book is no longer available for public use. So I've got to take it out, and I've got to put in a new one that's there that's similar but different. It's actually mentioned in the book, but I've got more details about it now because it's running. And it's available to the public. So there's services that I couldn't talk about in the book at the time that I was writing, that they weren't available for public.
And when will you be updating?
I don't know when the update's going to be there, but if you get the Gumroad version of the book, you get free updates for life. So, if you bought the first edition, you also got the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. You've got access to all of them in your Gumroad library. Also, the updates to the files. So I've put out additional files. I put together a list of all the links in the books. I think there's over 300 links to different things in the books outside of videos itself. And there's actually dozens of videos. It's not something that I mention a lot, but in the book itself, there's dozens of links to videos that go into more detail about something if it's, it's just not space in the book to write it. The book's almost 400 pages right now, right?
And it's over the reason why we have to do a live event with you. And what chapter are we at now, Jacob?
So there's only one other one. There's conclusions. So I go into summarize some different things, and I show people how they can actually make money from the book, which is something I haven't mentioned on the call. There's discounts in the book. So if let's say you're already doing something, let's say you're using Merch Informer, right? And you want to pay less for it. There's information in the book on how to pay less for things you're already doing, right?
Good.
And there's discounts that I arranged with different services and providers in the book. If you use them all, it would be over $500 worth of discounts in the book. And the book itself costs, the Gumroad version is $57.
Okay.
It's one time. You don't have to pay monthly or anything. It's just one payment, $57. If you're listing shirts on Merch by Amazon for $19.99, if the book helped you sell 11 shirts, it would pay for itself.
Yeah.
I think it's a good deal.
Fabulous deal, Jacob. The amount of information you are giving to people who could, and we are talking about people who could transition to this to a full-time career if they wanted to, correct?
Yeah. I've in the community section, I actually connect you not just to stuff that I've got, I've got a Facebook group and stuff like that. It's almost 13,000 people in it. But I connect you to multiple other people that are in the space that you can learn from, either whatever platform you want, right? So I've got access to other people's YouTube channels. I've got Facebook groups. There's other resources if you want to. There's other books out there that I connect to. There's courses. Let's say somebody just wants to do videos and they don't want to read a book. I've got links to connect to those as well. Some of them are free. Some of them are paid. Most of them are free. But there are people making a lot of money in this. So, for example, I won't go into the person's name because I don't want to drive a bunch of traffic to them. They'll get overwhelmed with it. But I know of one person in particular that's made over $100 million in sales, and primarily through print on demand. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? $100 million is nuts. But people get in the world of Merch by Amazon, there's some real superstars in that world that make a lot of sales just from that one platform. So I'll give you a good example. So RJ Martinez, he did a post just this week. I posted it in my Facebook group, so it's well known. It's not like a secret or anything. Mm-hmm. But he's now made over $100,000 in royalties. And that's just from Merch by Amazon. That's just from one platform, right? That doesn't include, I know for sure he's got accounts on Redbubble, he's got accounts on Etsy, he's got accounts on other print-on-demand services. But just from one account on one platform, and we're talking royalties. Royalties are kind of like profit. You get the whole thing, right? We're talking about sales. Mm-hmm. Sales on that would be much higher, but just the royalty part, the part that he got from the platform to put in his bank account, was $100,000.
Yes.
Right, and he was able to go from 0 to 100,000 in definitely less than 3 years.
Is he a personal friend of yours?
Yeah, we talk online sometimes, so we connect. I've met him in person a few times.
Yeah. Was he down in Texas with us?
No, he wasn't in Texas. In Texas, there was another person speaking. Fernando was speaking on print on demand.
That's what I thought you meant. Yeah, Fernando.
Yeah, and Jason Miles. He doesn't necessarily do print on demand, but he does digital products, which is very similar.
Yeah.
So when you look at like the whole scope of different things that you can sell online, the thing that I like a lot about print on demand is basically it's a virtual product, right? It doesn't exist until somebody buys it. There's no inventory costs most of the time, depending on the platform. Like Etsy, for example, charges you for each listing, but I've got links in the book that gives you free Etsy listings. So it'll save you money right off the bat. There's no shipping time as the seller, right? I don't have to wait for it to get to a warehouse, right? I don't run out of inventory. So it is possible that a platform can run short on a particular size or color or something like that. So for example, even Merch by Amazon, in December's of the past, they've run out of like black large shirts, for example.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's an enormous amount of shirts that they've ordered. They basically run out of them because they can't buy the shirts fast enough, the blank shirts, right? Forget about the printed ones. So it is possible to run out, but generally speaking, with print on demand, you never run out of inventory because whoever's doing the fulfillment has a continuous supply chain, and they're constantly getting more shirts, the blank shirts, the prints, the designs on, right? Yes. And again, it's the book. I really want people to understand it's not just t-shirts, right?
Right.
Like you can run an entire business and never even use Amazon and never do a single t-shirt, and it could be a full-out print-on-demand thing, right? Like you could sell cutting boards. You can have a whole cutting board store. You can make an entire business out of just cutting boards, right? You can have different sizes, different materials, right? You have custom designs on them. You can do designs that you've made. There's a way to connect so people can upload their own designs. You can just do like custom designs for print on demand on a service where you don't touch anything, right? You have no access to the cutting boards. There's no staff running your website. It's just running itself. You know, once you load it, it just does its own thing. All the shipments get paid and money gets deposited into your bank account. Like, it's really nice.
Okay, so I have a question before I close.
Sure.
One of the questions is, if we did an event anywhere in the world, because Julie and I like to travel, don't we, Julie? We like to follow the warm water.
I like travel.
Yeah, we like to go. And so I'm going to ask people in our audience if they'd like to email into us and tell us if they'd like to see you, where would they like that event to be, and where would you like that event to be? Because we're from Canada. We don't necessarily have to stay in Canada because we all have passports. We can go to Vancouver. We could go anywhere, really, couldn't we? Where would you?
I did show earlier, I have a valid Canadian passport.
There you go.
It's good for, like, about the 10-year passport, so it's good for a while.
Yeah. Well, I would like people to email us in and tell us where they're either from that they would like us to come and do. And if we have several in a certain area, maybe Julie and I can look at some places that we could do this platform and have you there, and you can sell your books and teach us, as well as maybe a few other people that could come and do maybe a 3-day event or something like that. Wouldn't that be
I think if somebody's going to an event, it would only be about showing people how to do it and having, not just showing them, but like making them do it themselves, right?
Yes.
In the book, I talk about something that I kind of coined the term is on-demand private label. And I show people how to do it in the book. And with the bonus files from Gumroad, you can actually do it quite quickly. If you have 100 images, whatever the images are, right, you can convert 100 images into over 100,000 listings and list them all on Amazon. And you can put it together. Like I can show somebody how to do that in one day. It's a little bit mind-boggling what you can do if you know not only how to do it, but like where to do it and how to do it and what you need in order to do it and that kind of thing. But the doing of it itself, it's not, each item takes time, but it can be done really fast. And now you can automate a lot of it. So you can do it with software, right?
So we'll have to do that. We'll have to put that out there. And where would you like to have an event? Right there in Ottawa, or would you like to?
I guess it depends on when it is. But I think people would love to come to Ottawa. It's like a gorgeous area. The fall is nice. But I've talked about print on demand all across the U.S. So we didn't get into any sort of like history of me, but I did a Merch Madness tour where I went to almost every United States state in almost every major city, and I went across Canada and I went to Europe. I've talked about print on demand in London. I I've been in Iceland. Like I've traveled around talking about print on demand quite a bit, right? So if you want to put me in a location and have other people come and learn how to do that, I'm happy to go pretty much anywhere. You know?
Okay.
If you want to talk about like the economics of where it would make sense for people to go, Costa Rica from Canada is relatively cost effective, and that's good for people from the US, which is probably the major market, but people can fly from anywhere from Costa Rica. Anywhere in the Caribbean, just because it's catered towards tourism, is a good place to go because they're set up for it. If you want to do business training and you want to reach people that are in the sort of the Asian markets of the world, Bali is really affordable. Earlier this year, I saw tickets from New York City to Bali for less than $600 Canadian, which is
we'll have to look closer
very affordable.
Really, we'll have to look closer at those, and we'll give those people a few suggestions because we have to vote on them and see if we.
So wherever you go, just make sure they have internet access.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
So this business works best with connection to the internet.
Laptop can travel. Right?
Yeah.
Have laptop.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jacob. Julie, do you want to close us off with any remarks?
I just think it's a fabulous platform and idea for those who are just getting started. Like you said, Jacob, this call went on for quite a bit, so you didn't get an opportunity to talk about people already in the biz and how this book is good for them as well. Like
it is, there's a lot of advanced stuff.
They keep saying from $20,000 a month to $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
Easily possible, and I'm sure you go through that and detail that in your book as well.
I wouldn't say that it's easy because it takes work, but I do detail, for example, in the automation chapter, I talked about how to build teams that can automate your processes. What that allows you to do is to scale, right? So let's say you've been selling on merch by Amazon, Redbubble, and Etsy, and you want to like take it the next step further, and you want to do less work. The book shows you how to do that. Not just how to do like virtual assistants, which it does talk about, but it also talks about different software that you can use, different services that you could use that makes that process easier for you. Because it's intimidating, right? To say, okay, I want to hire a virtual assistant to uploading all day. Yes, you can do that. And yes, it makes sense to do that. And yes, the book does show you exactly how to do that, where to go, what to say, that kind of thing. But it does go quite beyond that. I get into things like using artificial intelligence to build marketing for you. And I'm not talking about suggesting niches and stuff. I'm talking about like you type in a word and it builds, you know, a carousel ad across multiple marketplaces and lists them and pulls in the keywords and does the data and writes the ad for you and grabs the images from your store and builds, like it literally does all of that stuff for you
now, is that
automatically without you typing or touching anything. And then makes the list.
Now, Jacob?
It's been available for years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like this book originally came out over 2 years ago, and I wrote about it then. And guess what? Artificial intelligence gets better every time it does one.
Absolutely.
So 2 years ago, some of the software that I mentioned in the book was already certified for multiple social media platforms, meaning the computer, because there's no person behind it, it's artificial, right? Mm-hmm. The computer obtained the certification to be proficient on the social media platforms. This is like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And every time it does a listing, it tracks the results. So it knows what's being sold and it reports to you. Like you can have conversations with the computer. There's nobody on the other end. It's a computer. So I can go on a Facebook Messenger and I can talk to my computer, right, that I have set up running stores, connected to a Shopify store, connected to other marketplaces. And I could be like, hey, you know, like, how many sales did I get on Instagram last week? And it'll have a conversation with you. There's no person. There's not somebody running it. It's a computer.
Well, maybe Julie and I should just have a trip to Ottawa then, and we'll have our personal one-on-one with you and go from there. But
yeah, I mean, the book covers literally how to get it, how to set it up, where you can use it, what platforms it's used on, how it works, everything. It's literally in the book. That's why the book is so thick. There's a lot of information in it, right?
Okay, so everybody,
it's writing.
To reiterate, get it from Gumroad, Merch by Jacob Topping.
Well, Merch in the World of Print on Demand.
There'll be a link for us, Julie, that will be under our account, so that they'll be able to go straight there and get it as well. Okay?
Yeah, I recommend getting it through Gumroad, but if you want to find it fast, it's available all over the place. So you can get it on Amazon, Gumroad. It's also available on Target. It's available in Barnes and Noble. Like it's all over the place. But if you want, in my opinion, I think the best version of it is the Gumroad version, and the reason for that is because the bonus files that are included. Other people are charging like $50 to $100 for parts of the content that are in some of the files that are included with my book. Right? I mean, the book itself is only $57 on Gumroad, and it includes those files with it, plus free updates. So when I update the book, you get that for free, right?
Right.
So I think that's the best place to get it. But it is available all over the place.
Jacob, I wanted to thank you very much for joining up with us on this call. It was absolutely great talking to you. Yeah, and after the call, if you guys want to stay on and chat about stuff, I'm happy to chat with you. I'm really into this stuff.
I know you are. That's why it's so awesome to have had you. So I want to thank everyone that's listening as well, and to tune in and to look at the links below and connect with Jacob for more information, and put in your emails and tell us if you want to go to Costa Rica, if you'd like to go somewhere in the Caribbean or Bali, and then we can try to get an event together and have some awesome resources to learn together.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye.
So you just